This is the Projekt Gemineye update, brought to you by Riffical Records. And here's your host, Mark Anthony K. Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 122 of the Projekt Gemineye update. So before we get started with today's episode, I first wanted to take this time to thank everybody who got involved with the pre-order for the lathe cut record, the Record Store Day release of The Long Ride. I was hoping for a certain amount to sell, and it exactly sold that amount. So I'm very grateful for that, because I didn't want it to be a very huge amount. Number one, to keep it that kind of more rare, and also because since it's one of these things that have to be done in real time, if there was a ton of them ordered, it would take a while for them to get done. So this way, the chances of getting them quicker is better. So it's better for you and better for me. What else? I have, again, my master list, so I don't have to sit here fumbling around thinking of things. So let's continue. So now that that's done, I'm talking about the Record Store Day lathe cut thing, we will move on to the next phase of what's going on in the world of Projekt Gemineye, and that is, sorry, I got a hair there. The next thing is the release of In the Year 3073, Book 2. November 1st is the day that I will be starting the pre-order for the CD version of the album. So keep that date in mind. Between now and then, I'll be doing a series of videos of things. I'll be doing some, promotional kind of videos and stuff like that to help get the promo machine rolling. Another thing that will help in that is that on November 6th, the podcast Check It Out with DJ Peter Prague will be having the new album as its album of the week. So you will hear the record pretty much in full on that show. So if you're interested in checking it out, there's your chance. Because the next day, November 7th, will be the actual release of the album in digital form on Bandcamp. So those are a couple dates to keep in mind. So obviously there will be a vinyl release of it, and thankfully I did get told that the gentleman who does my cuts for me has some acetates available, so there will be a vinyl release. So talking about albums, right now I'm going to cut over to a short segment, one that you guys have been messaging me and telling me that you've been enjoying, so we will continue, obviously, and that is the Mixing an Album series that I've been doing. We have done the drums, we have done the bass, and now it is time to go and check out how I approach mixing rhythm guitars on this record. Riffical Records presents The Making of Projekt Gemineye 4, From Creation to Completion, with Mark Anthony K. Greetings, friends, and welcome to the next chapter of the Mixing an Album segment. So this week we're going to be taking a look at the rhythm guitars and what I do when I mix rhythm guitars. Now, the rhythm guitars are these orange sections here. Now, as you can see, there's 4 separate tracks. Before, what I used to do, I used to just do 2 tracks, which is just basically a left and right. And what I decided to do this time is, because I wanted to incorporate the amps and my other way of recording, which is using the Line 6 pod. The amp is right here. This is the amp that I use here, the Hughes & Kettner Tube Meister 5. It's a great amp, all tube there, as you can see inside there. And it sounds fantastic. But like every trick that one learns, sometimes having the biggest and most hugest guitar sound isn't what a sound needs for it to sound big in a mix. So what I did is I separated the two amps, well, the two amp channels, and then the two line 6 channels, and made two distinct sounds for each. So the amps have a distinctive sound and the line 6 pods have a distinctive sound. So I'm going to let you hear what those sounds are. Sorry for my moving around here a little bit. So here is the amps just by themselves. Turn that up a bit. Now, that's from the song. Sacred Sons, and you'll notice that I have on there a compressor setting and a doubler for that amp, and I have a SSL channel EQ and a limiter. Now, that's exactly the same thing that I have on the other channel as well. So because this is panned and left and right. Now, as you can tell, this sound is sort of a bit thinner, little hairier. Now I'll play you the other sound, which is the line 6 sound. There you go. And now you'll notice with that sound, it's a lot more fuller, more rounder, not as buzzy. But now when you put those two sounds together, now I'll I'll unmute the amp as well and leave the line 6 on. And this is what they sound like together. Now, the difference between the line 6 and the amp, if you notice, is that I don't have the pedals on the line 6 ones. I just use the SSL channel, which is this here. Where are you, cursor? There you are. Just this, the channel, and just the ultra maximizer. Those are the only two things that I use on the line 6 tracks. And now, if I go and unmute the bass, and unmute the drums, this is what they sound like with the rhythm section. So there you go. Now, basically, there isn't much more to say about this other than to say the most important thing about recording guitars that I've discovered over the years is that try to get the sound as close to what you want beforehand. Like, don't go in, record a sound and then say, oh, I'm just going to fix it and make it sound the way I want it to afterwards. That's not the right way to do it. Just go in, get a sound that you like, record that sound, and then use that sound, just kind of fine tune it, which is exactly what I did for this song here and for all the rest of the songs on this record, in fact. So thanks for watching, and next I think we'll probably go over either keyboards or guitar solos. So until then, this is Mark Anthony Case saying bye for now. So there you go. There's a segment on the rhythm guitar aspect of mixing. Like I said, most likely there'll be other keyboards or guitar solos that I'll tackle next. I also put a message up very recently about mastering, and the album is mastered and done. It was a very interesting process this time because usually mastering is kind of simple, and I usually have a more tougher time with the mixing. Excuse me. But this time, it almost went backwards. The mixing was easier and the mastering was a little bit more trickier. But if you read my note that I put there, all it took was a change in mindset to realize that sometimes less is more, and to get a great sound doesn't necessarily mean you have to tackle on a bunch of things onto a mix to make it sound better. And I learned my lesson well. So, from here, what I'd like to do now is to cut over to something that I've been talking about on the Facebook channel quite a bit. On the Facebook group, and that is the interviews that I've been doing with all the guest bass players. I've done all of them except for one. I had them all booked to do, but the one gentleman, Mr. Billy Sherwood, had something that came up, and we had to reschedule his. So I'm still waiting to get his done. But everybody else is done, and we'll start the segment today with the first guest musician, bassist, which was Joe Bailey. And he also sang on this, so I think he deserves to go first because he did quite a lot of work on this record with me as well. So without any further ado, let's cut over to Mr. Joe Bailey and we'll talk to him about what he thought of the album and the parts that he did and a few other things as well. So sit back, take a good listen because he's an interesting gent, Mr. Joe Bailey. And I find that his musical experience has added quite a bit to my music. And I think it's really helped this record develop. And of course, because there's going to be a book 3, he will be one of the people for sure that'll have to return because he plays such a vital role vocally for the characters that are involved in the story. So let's cut over now to that interview and I'll be back very shortly. All right, so we're very honored to have our good friend and fellow musician, Mr. Joe Bailey, with us today. Hello, Joe. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing very well, or as well as one could be doing in this crazy world that we live in right now.
Yeah, I feel you.
So the reason why we're talking today is because you, my friend, are one of the 4 guest musicians that appear on the new Projekt Gemineye in the year's 3073 Book 2 release that comes out in November. November 7th, the digital version. And November 1st will be the pre-order for the CD version, and vinyl will come out as well. Thankfully, because I got word from Lacquer Channel that they have lacquers for me. Yay! So I will be able to do a vinyl release of it. So you will have another vinyl release with yourself on it, my friend.
Marvelous.
Yes. So let's talk about the songs that you did on here. And you being one of the 4 musicians on here, you would figure, it's going to be like, you did one song and this guy did one song. But no, you have been quite the workhorse, and I'm very happy to say that because your addition to these songs have immensely helped them. I think they sound fantastic, and I'm very grateful for you to being on these. So you've been on 4 songs actually. The single that just came out today, which was Sacred Sons. So let's talk a little bit about that. So on that, you sing quite a bit of the vocals on that song. So what were your first thoughts when you heard this one?
It was just sort of similar reaction to all the songs you sent over. Amazed as always. I was really excited to get going on these songs. I actually think this is better than Book 1. It was more involved for me, I think, vocally as well. Had a lot more chance to shine, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sacred Sons, it was there's lots of different things for me to sing in that song, wasn't there? Like the first verse was kind of like quite aggressive, coming in, wake up, and then sort of it gets more melodic later on. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree about the fact that you were more involved in it because one thing I really enjoyed was the fact that, on the first album when we did it together, I gave you ideas of some of the vocals that I had, and some of them you followed and some of them you did your own way a little bit. But with this, what I really enjoyed was that I said, here you go, here's what I did. And you really went and put your stamp on it. Like some of the melodies even completely changed than the way that I had it, which I was absolutely thrilled with because they ended up being better than the way that I did it, of course, because you're much more schooled a singer than I am ever being. So it really turned out really good. So on this song especially, I find that it's very, very strong. The melodies, the way you sung it. The second song that you did on here was "The Great Lie." Now that song you also played bass on as well, and I really like that one because your vocals on that one especially are much better than the way I demoed it. You took the words and you kind of stretched them out a bit more. You put some more vibrato on it. It's really, really well sung. I think it really took that song from a song that I was kind of like, yeah, I like it, to something that I really, really love now, that song. So any thoughts on that song at all?
Yeah, it's a great song. I wanted to add a bit of emotion to the vocals in the verses. I'm thinking of the right one. I sing the verses on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was fun. It was probably my best performance on your album, I think.
Yeah. Well,
It was the most enjoyable,
yeah.
certainly.
Well, and another thing that's great about this one is that this is one of the ones that you played bass on. And one of the things I really enjoy about your bass playing is you have a definite sound now to your bass playing. That, like, now when I hear when you play, now when I hear it, it's like, okay, now I know that's Joe playing bass. Like when I listen to all the other songs, it definitely has something to it. And I think a part of it is that leather pick of yours, because it gives you such a distinctive sound that you wouldn't get from a pick or even from fingers. It's almost like a person who has like leather skin on their fingers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish I did have leather skin on my fingers. The reason I chose leather pick is because I wanted like a more of a fleshy sound, and I can play with my fingers, but it's not brilliant. So I started the bass with a pick. So I thought you mentioned that something about a rubber pick, and that's
Yeah.
another thing. I might have a look into them as well because that sounds interesting. But the leather one was on. I got a load of them off on eBay. They're actually ukulele picks, but they're dead tough. Like so, it works nicely on the bass. Yeah.
I've always been curious. I'm not sure if I ever talked to you about this or not, but what was the whole like reasoning for it? Like what made you say one day that I wanted to use leather picks? Like was there a reason that came to mind?
I don't know. There was just a part of me that thought, if I was to ever play bass for somebody who wanted finger style, I could use a leather pick to get more of a fleshy sound to the tone of the bass. I think it achieved it kind of. You can still tell it's a pick, I think, but it sounds more. What's the word? It sounds warmer, I think.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, especially when you do lines that are like, like either like a rhythm, like a gallop rhythm, or something that has like consecutive eighth notes and stuff like that. You can really tell the warmth and the attack in that, because usually with picks it's like click 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 click. You can really hear like the pick itself, but with this, it really gives it a nice thump, but it still has a good point to it. It's not muffly. It's not like woo, 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 woo. It's really smooth, and I really love it. So it's one of those things that I gave you a unique sound and very Joe Bailey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Now the last song that you participated on, and it's funny because The Great Lie was the last minute one. I came to you after and I said, Joe, I got one more song that I might need bass on. And you were like, okay, no problem. And that turned out awesome, like I just said. But the song before that was the epically long one, The Mastermind. Now, this one, to me, I really love what you did on this one. Is probably my favorite that you did. I mean, everything that you did was amazing. I really love it. And I mean, I've even had comments the other day when I was on the chat room on Pete's show the other day when they played the Sacred Sons. Lots of people commented on the fact that they love our dynamic of our back and forth vocals. So it's really connected with people who love our songs, and that's why I'm going to continue doing it, because it just works so well. But in this song is another great example of that, because you can tell we're having a conversation back and forth in this song.
Yeah.
I'm a character, you're a character, and we sing it through, and it's turned out really, really well. The thing about the bass that I like about this song is you pulled out the fretless. And I was so
Yeah.
happy that you did on this one because in that middle section, it really added to it. I mean, any thoughts on the fretless involvement?
Well, I don't use the fretless often. It just sort of sits there. Well, I say it sits there. It hangs there, um, gathering dust. And I haven't even used it on any of my solo albums ever. I haven't had it for that long. I've had it for about a year and a half. And then we did discuss maybe using it on the Dark Monarchy album, and then I never bothered in the end. So
Mm.
I thought that middle section there would be lovely, just to, it's quite a change of sound. So I thought I'll change the bass, and it really worked nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it too because that whole part of the song, I mean, I'm not sure if you had a chance yet to listen to the songs. I sent you those copies of them, but when it breaks down in there, it really goes from such a big kind of production bit to just like a woo, down to like one little guitar, a little bit of keyboards, and that bass in there. It was so well done. I thought that was a great idea to add in that fretless bass. And of course, I'm guessing for the rest of it, you use the 6 string bass, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really sounds fantastic. Now, having played all this stuff and sung it, is there a song for you that you would say is your favorite?
Probably the Mastermind.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm like for epic songs.
yeah. I mean, you're like me. That's why right away that one stuck out to me because I mean, one of the things I liked about it is how we resolved it with the whole vocals at the end, how you were kind of condemning me to my, my place within that hive there. And I was
Yeah.
totally against like, you're getting blah, 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 right? Kind of thing. So I thought that it really worked the way we sang it back and forth. So I'm very anxious to have people hear this because I think it really turned out well. I think I'm getting a good grasp of the story and not only me, but I think you're starting to get a grasp of what I'm expecting with the characters
Yeah.
and it's starting to really show. And we still have another book to do, one more book to finish it. So, so we'll have to keep that in mind as well. So yeah,
Yes.
again, Joe, thank you so much for doing this stuff on these songs. I really appreciate it. Now, I would be amiss not to talk to you about some of your stuff. So there is rumor in the grapevine from our good friend Mr. Pete O'Neill saying that you will be releasing a record soon. Want to talk about this mysterious record?
Yeah. I'm planning on putting a big post up because I haven't posted anything for a long time. I'm useless at posting. It's going to be a 6-track album. It's all recorded, and I'm just in the process of mixing it now. It's called Ghosts, and I was hoping I would get it released maybe November, December. I don't know if that's going to happen now. With the current lockdown situation in the north of England, I'm not sure whether me and Steve are going to be out because me and Steve were planning on doing a music video to promote it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he wanted to get the artwork done at the same time as doing the music video. So I can't really go very far without artwork and the promotional side of things. So it might be early next year, but I hope not. We'll see how this lockdown ends up. But yeah, it's all recorded and it's ready to go. Pretty much, I've just got a few more tweaks to make.
So as a fan of your music and having your whole catalog, and I suggest anybody who's watching this who has not checked it out, go to Joe Bailey's Bandcamp. His records are readily available and easy to get because he pretty much says name your price, which I think is still insane if you ask me. I think he should be asking at least £7 to £8 per record, but it's up to Joe and that's his thing to control. But fantastic stuff. What I'd like to know is, out of the records that I've heard, what do you think this one sounds closest to, or what would you say would be what record does that have the most similarity to?
I think A Price to Pay probably. This is heavier than the last album. It's a bit more electronic. Like sort of there's a lot of synthesizers and arpeggiators going on in this. A bit similar to A Price to Pay. So probably I would choose that one. The last album had I think Less Than Nothing had a more organic sound to it. probably because I was listening to the Flower Kings a lot at that stage when I was writing that album.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't put a finger on this album and what has inspired the songs, but it's certainly a lot like A Price to Pay.
Great. So you did mention that our good friend Steve Holland there has involvement with your record as far as artwork. He did, as people probably know, the artwork for the Dark Monarchy release as well. And Steve has been excellent in promoting that. In fact, I mean, he's been posting a lot online about our Dark Monarchy stuff, and I really, really appreciate it. It's one of the reasons why I made him a co-administrator on the page, because I want him to have access to it, right? And he's been doing a great job. So without giving it away, because I know that I wouldn't want to do that anyways, is there some kind of stylistic idea you're thinking about for this album?
We've kind of discussed it. I know there's going to be shots taken at a church somewhere, possibly a chapel. I can't remember what he said now. It's local, and the music video is going to be, I don't know, he's got something up his sleeve. I'm not really sure. He showed me a storyboard of it. I think it involves another cloak as well.
Nice.
But I'm not really, I don't really know well enough to discuss it really.
Well, that's good. I mean, obviously there is a direction, and with Steve, it's going to turn out good because he has a good eye and he knows how to use all his equipment very well. So, and the video he did for us is fantastic, and I think it's just about to hit 400 views when I looked last time. So, fantastic.
Yeah,
I can't believe how well it's done. So, excuse me. So we did talk about Dark Monarchy briefly, and for those who are watching, January is slated right now to be the time to maybe start working on that as far as writing goes. Now, of course, this is all subject to what's going on with you as well, because if you're delayed with your record, maybe we might be delayed with starting. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think it'll be later than January, or do you think we're going to be able to start January? What are your thoughts?
I reckon we could probably start January. I don't think that my album will interfere with the writing process. I mean, I can still write whilst I'm trying to sort out my album anyway. So I think January's a pretty good starting date.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, by that point, I think I'll be probably ready again to go, because I got, excuse me, I got this record coming out now, the CD and the vinyl eventually. Also, I have a Christmas EP coming out as well that I always do every single year. That's usually just like an instrumental thing that's based around kind of, memories of the past that I like to do. And in November, I think I mentioned this to you once before, but we will make it official. In November, for Black Friday, the Record Store Day release, we will be releasing a lathe cut version of the full Dark Monarchy debut album to come out then as well. So for all you people who will need a vinyl version of it, this is going to be your chance, because everybody who has picked up the lathe cut that I did of the other songs from my EP that I did before said that the quality is amazing. They said it sounds absolutely fantastic. They said, one guy even said it sounded almost like a one-step mo-fi, which was like, wow, I can't believe he actually said that. So to have that kind of quality for the Dark Monarchy stuff is very exciting for me. So keep your eyes open for that, my friends. So there will be a Dark Monarchy sort of vinyl release of the first record. So I can say that I'm very excited about doing the next record. I already have little ideas brewing in the back of my head of what possibly to do musically and stuff like that. And I know lyrically, you have a lot to talk about, and the way things are going in the world now, it always gives a lot of fuel to the lyrical end of stuff. So, so I guess it's safe to say that you're looking forward to that as well.
Yes, so I think because we've by the end of the process last time, I think we perfected it. Sort of like we've learned along the way, and then it was perfect at the end when we did hide and seek. It was like done so quickly, wasn't it? So I think this album I think we'll be like a well-oiled machine. I think.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so too. And because also you've, excuse me, also because you've been working on your music, I've been working on mine, and I find that you're kind of like me in the sense that once you start writing and writing, if you keep doing the writing, then it gets better and better and better, right? That's
yeah,
why for me, taking long pauses in between is never good, because whenever I look at my records that I've done that before, I'll have a folder of like 23 songs, and the first like 17 of them are garbage, and then the later ones are actually good because I was warmed up by then. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
I'm
I
exactly
think,
the same. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think that it's going to be a cracker of an album, as they say in England. So um, I'm looking really forward to doing that. Okay, so I think I've taken up enough of your time for one day. But thank you very much, Joe, this and for doing the record as well. There's lots to come for us, both of us, from you, from your solo end, from my end as well. Oh, and one more thing, almost forgot. We have one more thing brewing out there for people who love metal music. TWJ. Want to give a little quick of that?
Okay, so it's a band that I have with Steve, who we've just been talking about. It's a band we've had for a long time, but we haven't really released a lot. There's a couple of EPs that we released that we won't talk about because I just don't think it's worth talking about. But this album's it's quite we're quite a comedic sort of metal band, but it's too good to be classed as just comedy, I think. So
Mm.
it's jazz. There's jazz elements. There's prog elements. There's death metal. There's just everything in there. We are currently up to recording vocals now. I've recorded all the guitars, all the basses, all the programming's done. Steve's done all of his growls, so we've just got singing left to do, and I've got a couple of guitar solos to put in. Oh, and saxophone solos. We've got somebody lined up to do sax as well.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool. So there you go. So Mr. Joe Bailey and Mr. Steve Holland are men of many musical diversities and influences, as we can tell, and it will come out in this new record. So I guess as it gets closer to release, I guess we'll chat about that one time, and we can talk about it further once it gets closer to release.
yeah.
Okay, so I think now we've covered all the necessary ground to be covered, and we'll leave it at that. So thank you very much, Joe Bailey, for being on here, and we will chat again soon, and we'll have to do a Dark Monarchy update video for sooner than later. So we will see you all when that comes up. So on behalf of myself, Mr. Joe Bailey, thank you very much for watching, and we'll talk again soon.
So yeah.
So we're back, and I'm sure you'll agree that that was a very interesting interview. Joe Bailey always has some interesting things to talk about when it comes to working on music with me, and I hope you guys really enjoyed listening to that. So before I get going here, I just want to give a heads up on a couple of things. One thing is that between now and the release of the record, I have organized a few interviews to do, and hopefully they will all come out before the release of the record in helping the in hopes of helping the promotional end of things again. One of them is the Pottered in Hell podcast, also the Progressive Palaver I'm hoping to get onto, and also the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast. So there's a few that are lined up to do things on, and between now and November 6th, that should all get ironed out and done. So I'm really looking forward to that, talking about this new record, because I'm very happy with it, very proud of it, and I think in terms of the story, it is the perfect middle record, I think, of a trio, because the first one is sort of the introduction, at the start of the story, and then the second part of it is always the sort of odd twist in the story, the unexpected part. I always think back to Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. Wow, like what happened there? Or Empire Strikes Back. The bad guys actually won in that one. Just something unexpected happens in it, and then you got part three that resolves the whole story, which will be coming up probably next year. I'll get that done for sure. But yeah, So the whole record recording process has been very interesting, and hopefully between now and the release date we'll do some more interesting things. There will be another contest coming up soon that I'm going to be doing. I was hinting at that. I'm not going to tell you what the I'm not going to tell you what the contest is about yet, but I think you guys will be pretty interested in it. So let me leave it at that. And yeah, I will talk to you guys all very soon. So thank you for watching. Oh, and next episode, we'll be talking with Mr. David Donnelly. He's the next guest in the series of interviews. And then after David will be Mr. Lee Pomeroy as well for you guys to check out. So be sure to check out all the videos because all of them have done some fantastic job and have, given up some valuable time of their own to appear on the interview and to also do the record. So I think it's kind of cool if you guys check it out and, see what they added to the music. Okay, so I hope you are all doing well. I'll go now and fix my tongue because it seems to be out of place a bit. Bye for now, my friends.